And welcome back. Today we're flying out the MiG-21SMT 10.3 Russian Tech 3, and this video will be a little bit of a follow-up on what I did quite a while ago in the F-84B. It was a bit of a jet guide series that I was going to start, and I want to continue. It's kind of hard to get very specific types of gameplay, however, and I don't want to make it the same way as the very basic guides, which are basically built in paint. It looks kind of bad. Today I want to focus on mostly target prioritization, selecting your fights, breaking off fights that you're not going to win or you're not going to win in due time, because you need to be everywhere on the map basically at top tier, and you can't do that. So you need to use your time, your fuel, your missiles and your ammo sparingly and efficiently. Taking down the right targets at the right time makes it so you as a person, well, you have to do much less. Your impact will be much greater and maybe you'll get less kills, but your win rate will go up substantially, which in the end will net you more profit than of course losing with a lot of kills. But talk about economics of War Thunder is not something I want to dive into today, and I'm going to give you a little bit of a warning. When I tell you, when I give you tips, when anyone gives you tips, when you start improving at this game, it's not going to be a day one experience. It's not a, oh right, I do this, now I'm going to win. No, it takes a lot of time, a lot of work, and that's just the nature of this game. This is not a pick up and play game. This is very much a game that you play for long term, and long term is something that a lot of people are missing lately. Most guys want to just fly in as fast as they can, get a kill as fast as they can, die as fast as they can and go into the next match, which of course when you're power grinding might be a decent way to get RP. In the end, trying to get better at this game will actually net you much more RP and silver lines, because you will be dying less as well in the long run. And there is an anecdote I like to use, and it's basically a story because I've actually seen it happen. It's 2v2, one guy gets put into a flat spin, and then the guy that's about to save his other teammate in the 2v1, making them both survive. Guess what's going to happen? One of those guys is going to steal the guy that was put into a flat spin. The teammate of his dies, and then he dies as well, because well, now it's 1v1 and he wasn't able to carry the 1v1. So he basically threw a game that would have been a kill for both of them and a win to one kill for both of them and a loss. Of course the opposing team will be happy with that. However, his team probably wouldn't so much. If you can relate to something like that, please stop doing it. It's not worth your time. Of course in the short run it will be, in the long run it won't be. Today for you I got some decent frag matches at the start, basically just some film material that I can talk over. And then later on I got a carry, I got a few dogfights and some things you just want to pay attention to. So today we're not going to be really looking at how to fly jets. Well, we will be, but I'm not going to be looking at how to fly the SMT in particular. I want to look at things you can do, things you have to think about, and just some general pointers. And I do think that a lot of you guys will find this helpful, because a lot of times I see people die to the dumbest stuff. And I mean just, there is a train of people and they will go for the first one and get missiled instantly. And at these BRs, knowing your planes isn't as important as it will be in low tier jets, 9.0 jets, props and all those kind of things. Knowing your plane isn't as important as it will be at other BRs, but it will still be very important in a different regard. Instead of knowing how well you can dogfight someone, how you energy trap and stuff like that, most of that goes out of the window as long as missiles are involved. You really want to look at that top speed, that turn rate, and then in terms of flight performance, that's essentially it. Because if you get someone on your 6th that's catching you, you need to be either sure that you can outrun them at that point, or you need to be sure that you can outturn them. If you're going slower than someone that's more maneuverable, you're already messed up. There is no getting out of it, there is getting lucky, and that's him throwing the game. Because the truth of the matter is in this game, or at this BR, if you get someone catching you and you need to reverse him, more likely than not you are going to die. And it doesn't matter if you kill the guy that's actually engaging you. After that engagement you will be so slow, because these planes dump an insanely amount of speed in a very quick succession, especially planes like the one I'm flying right here, making you extremely vulnerable. You want to go fast most of the time. Right here you can see me be a little bit more aggressive. I'm in the clouds, I'm in a full down tier, I'm not as worried about a missile finding my plane. I'm one of the best performing planes in this entire BR bracket when I get down tier, so I'm not really afraid of going vertical slightly. But I still need to be aware of a guy that's maybe 20 kilometers away, because he will close the distance if I don't pay attention, and that's not something I want to happen. Anyone can kill everyone at this BR as long as you don't see the guy. It's much easier than in props, where some guy might just miss his burst These guns, most of these, of course I'm flying a MiG-21 now with a water pistol, but most of these planes have an insanely high velocity gun, and they also have missiles with an insane amount of range. And you can tell that the J-35 and the Harrier here are going pretty slow. I can lock them up, they don't have flares, and they have a massive heat signature, especially the Harrier. So what are they going to do? It doesn't matter what they do at this point, they are too slow, and that R60 is going to hit its target. Unless of course someone else pops a flare, or some other very far-fetched stuff like a safety car in the last lap. You don't want that kind of stuff, you don't want to get overtaken just before the finish line. So make sure you keep your speed up, don't rely on dodging a missile, just try to outrun them. Most of the time you will be able to if you are beyond 1.5 kilometer and it's not something like an AIM-9G or a Magic. Don't be too afraid of the thing, you can probably just outrun it. Don't start turning instantly. Unless of course it's an AIM-9G, then turning instantly and turning the other way is actually the best thing to do, because it leads so much that it's so far away that you can actually outrun the missile. The second that burner goes out of the rocket motor, just wiggle a little bit left and right and the missile will lose a lot of speed and you are mostly in the clear. And now I want to be looking at some short fights, some dogfights, and that's simply because I know you want some neuron activation and you're probably getting a little bit bored at this point, because I've been talking about very dry stuff. So here we go, sorry for the freezes, that's me tapping out of the game. And we are going to start off with an easier fight with an F4E. And the thing I want to focus on here is, I'm much slower, I know this, so I will get the first turn before he does. He cuts into me however, he goes low, and now he's gonna fly in a certain direction, so I'm just going to prepare, I'm just going to hang my gun over there, see what he does. And doing that makes it so that you will bleed less energy than needed. If you're constantly pulling, if you're constantly adjusting your flight path, you will bleed a lot more speed. Try to get your maneuver done in as little moves as you can. I get a little bit of an unlucky hit. The missile doesn't go for the flares, but I crit him. So that's lucky and unlucky at the same time, and at this point he is too slow and there's not much he's going to be doing anymore. He's severely damaged and it's an F4E at low speed. And here we are, now we're reversing a plane that's very similar to us. And the thing to take away from this fight is, I let us shoot his missile first, now he has to warm it up, so I can start turning in. And I turn in very slowly here, you can see that I'm tapping my elevator. I shoot the second missile, that's 2 missiles out. And now I'm going to start going a little bit vertical, because I want to bleed more speed, because I know I have a lot more power. He turns a little bit better, but turn rate can be negated with a little bit of extra power away. So I go a little bit more vertical, bleed a bit of extra speed, he starts overshooting, I throttle drop a little bit. And now I get on the 6. And again, once you get on someone's 6, especially if you have missiles and he doesn't have flares, well, there is very little he is going to do. Very bad launch on my end there, a little bit of an ambitious launch. Luckily, as I said, once you go very slow, it's very hard to start dodging people at this BR. You don't have maneuverability at low speed, consider yourself slow at 700 kilometers an hour. And this is something I like doing very often. I get on someone's 6, I see that he's pretty flaring, so he definitely sees me. So I'm not gonna use my missiles instantly, I'm just gonna start using my guns. And then the second he moves, or the second he does anything, I'll launch the missile off, because most people aren't looking at the flare key when they're busy maneuvering. Of course it doesn't always work, but very often, if you shoot at the same time as you use your missile, very often people just forget to flare, or they don't dodge. It's one or the other. They either fly into your guns, because they aren't dodging, because they're flaring, or they do both. So a lot of people will still react to it properly, but keep in mind, very often people aren't very good at pressing a lot of buttons at once, and I like to try abusing that. And this is going to be the carry match. Get on the 6 of an FGR, he's not paying attention, he's very very close, I don't need to use my missiles there, I want to use my missiles somewhat sparingly, so I will. And for now, I'm just going to use my afterburner here and get out of the furball, because there's about 4 people coming in from the side of the match. So what do? I regroup with my team. And I might give my 6 now to the enemy, but if they decide to chase me through the entire team, they actually put themselves at a massive disadvantage. So pointing my ass towards the entire enemy team, in this case, is a good thing. I'm out of range of that missile, but I've seen more bullshit happen this week. So I'm gonna make sure that nothing here happens. And I'm outrunning him at this point. And the F4E, while it's one of the fastest planes on the deck, when it has all its 8 missiles on, it's not actually that fast anymore. It's still plenty fast, but it's not as much of a rocket ship as it is when it's completely clean. So he breaks off, I get my position back, do a very gradual turn, and at this point I'm just trying to get my footing back and see who I can engage and who is an easy picking. Because right now there's a lot of enemies in the area, there's also a lot of teammates, but there is significantly less teammate than there is enemy. So who can I engage here safely? Weirdly enough, it's going to be the F4E. The F4E is busy with someone, and the two F5s are a little bit slow, they're a little bit far away, and I can easily outrun them. This F4E, even though he's in front of the pack, and it's technically, looking at your protocol, quote unquote, I don't want to take it that serious, but looking at your protocol, it should be the last one you would engage, because he's in front of the pack, so you would give your position away to the guys behind him. However, the guys behind him at this point are no threat, so he's completely safe to go for, and the F3 is a high priority target, so I want to kill him first, I want to get him out of the game, and I did. Used the gun for a second time, still have plenty of ammo left here, and here we go, we have 4 missiles, and there's an F5C, I think it was, not entirely sure, but it's an F5. So we shoot a missile at very long range, in case he's AFK, but he's actually looking at me. Didn't work out this time, and I'm gonna be trying to use the same trick that I used earlier. I'm just waiting, and then I shoot my guns, see if he maneuvers. He doesn't, so I shoot again, shoot a missile at the very same time, and this time it doesn't work. A lot of guys will actually react to it properly, and if they drop a few flashes nowadays, they will actually just get out, well, they just dodge the missile. So I wasted 2 missiles on him, he's rolling out of the way, his defense isn't very bad, so I'm just gonna break off, I'm not gonna bother with him, he's going to go RTB, and I need to help out my team here. I'm almost half fuel, a little bit under actually. I'm half ammo, and I have 2 missiles. So I want to drop into the ground clutter here, he has the pulse doubler, and I want to notch it as much as I can while being as low as I can and trying to dip kind of into the terrain, and the FG1 breaks off. There's no need for me to force a dogfight here because he doesn't want to take it. If I turn after him, he will simply outrun me because he will, one, not have to bleed speed, he is faster than me to begin with, and well, I'm gonna be dumping a lot of it. So puts me a little bit of a vulnerable position. I gave him some room in the hope that he will turn back. Unfortunately for us, he doesn't do that. And now I have a decision. Do I camp the entire base? Because there's going to be 4 people on the runway. And I probably can win that if I had more ammo, more fuel and more missiles, but I don't. It's like not pitting under a virtual safety car. And we are going to go back to base now, because they are all on the base. I will be at a little bit of a disadvantage, however, because they already basically landed, most of them, and I still need to fly over the entire map. And then land and take off again. So they will have a little bit of an energy and position advantage, and I'm going to be very close to our airfield. And I don't want to kill anyone with SAMs. Unfortunately, one of them actually flew into the SAMs, even though no one was on the runway. And I managed to missile another guy that's in the middle of the map. One of them crashed as well, and now it's 1v2, because in the meantime 2 of my teammates also died. So there's going to be an FG1 or an FGR somewhere in the area, as well as an F5, and I'm not entirely sure where they are. I have my radar turned off at this point, so I'm not starting to ping anyone on the map. And I'm starting to get pinged at a very low range, or very low altitude, on my right side. So I want to make sure that I know exactly where he is. I know I'm getting locked from roughly this direction, and by kind of turning my nose left and right, wiggling, I can triangulate his position somewhat. These RWRs aren't 360 degrees perfectly accurate. They're more of like a 8-way compass, I think it is, don't really matter. I know that he's coming in now and I'm staying very low, trying to stay on 90 degrees. And here we are going to take a massive risk. I'm going to pull this FG1 up by flying in front of him by dangling my ass in his face. And if he takes this fight, he will instantly lose it after I get through that very risky line. And I do. And then what we do is we just reel him in. He was very passive at the start of the game, and passive is not necessarily bad in this case. But if he flies away and I start a 2v1 with an F5 in the area, I cannot deal with the speed that this thing has. He manages to just dodge out of the way, last moment, and we are gonna be chasing after him. And this is what I didn't want to happen. That's why I needed to hit that shot. Some poor gunnery, some good dodge on his end, but he's not pre-flaring. And considering he just took off, I'm going to guess that he doesn't have any. And luckily for us, he indeed doesn't. So that's the FG down. I should have completely hit that shot. I kind of whiffed it, but it happens to all of us. F5 coming in. Not sure if it's an F5C at this point or the F5E. So I want to just make sure that I'm as fast as I can. I'm going to be ignoring the head-on altogether, because I'm going faster than he can in a straight line, and he turns right after us, which is perfect. I'm still going Mach 1. I'm gaining some altitude here. And I want to make sure that I kill this guy as quickly as I can, because I don't want to lose on tickets here. And he is very close to the runway, so it's entirely possible that he just starts flaring. I only have 3 missiles, I say only, and that's because our 60s are so susceptible to flares. But at this point I'm just taking a very wide line here, and I'm making him pitch up for me. And he is bleeding a lot of speed. I'm just maintaining my altitude. I'm doing a very gradual turn, and actually by keeping my turn as wide as I did it, it makes it so that he has to keep pulling very hard to get his guns on, because he's cutting into my loop. He's trying to pull lead, and in the end it cost him the game, because he is now basically stalled out and he's going to die right there. And there you have it. Hope it was helpful, hope it gave you some insight, and I will see you all in the next one.